Despite all the speculation of a Shaq Leonard signing, there's now another name linked to Philly after Zach Ertz was released by the Cardinals and everything's pointing toward a reunion. Why are the Eagles the tight end's top choice and is there competition? Plus, how do the Birds plan on stopping Christian McCaffrey? And Haason Reddick's final message to the whiners. But first, let's run it. What's up, guys? So let's start with a big happy birthday to Deshaun Jackson, with DJax turning 37 today. And as you're probably aware, will serve as an honorary captain versus the 49ers. But the most important part to all of this is what DJax wants for his birthday, which is the Birds to sign Zach Ertz. Okay, yeah, well, that's what we all want, including Lane Johnson, who will 100% be playing Sunday according to himself, but also took to X with eye emojis to voice his support of Ertz returning to Philly. And just in case you've been living under a rock or don't understand the reference, it was announced yesterday that the 33-year-old requested a release to play for a contender, and therefore underwent the waivers process, since anyone released after the trade deadline is subject to waivers regardless of tenure status. However, with Ertz being due $3 million this year and $11 million next season, it was always unlikely for someone to pick up the tab.
Seabass and the fellas offered to pick up our check. They said just put it on their tab.
Okay, look, we love him, but now, not surprisingly, the free agent is free to sign with anyone he wants. Of course, I think we all realize we're not getting the Pro Bowl talent that he once was, plus the stats haven't been great in Arizona. But who wouldn't want the Eagles legend for a small veteran's contract? I mean, with Dallas Goedert showing significant improvement and team personnel suggesting he'll be back next week versus Dallas, you're basically just asking Ertz to come in and provide depth at the tight end 2 spot. And let's be honest, there hasn't been much support in Dallas's absence, at least from the other tight ends in the passing game anyway. Of course, like Jordan Schultz and others pointed out, Philly isn't the only obvious landing spot. Despite as much as I'd hate it, the Baltimore Ravens are without star tight end Mark Andrews for the season, and they're certainly a contender who would probably pay a little better than Philly, especially considering that Ertz could come in and almost for sure get a bigger role in their offense. Yet, come on, we know how Zach feels about Philly.
I think this city is the best city to play for. And I couldn't have asked for a better experience. And, city means a lot to me. It means a lot to my family, and I'm thankful.
Okay, not gonna lie, that was one of the toughest pressers to watch back when he left, so when the dude says he wants to join a contender and get out from under the lying, feckless Jonathan Gannon, there's really only one option. I mean, let's not forget, whenever Ertz was headed to Arizona, he was congratulated for moving closer to home, except he responded saying, "This is home. Philadelphia is home." Add on top of that he called the summer of 2021 under Sirianni, quote, "the most fun I've had coming to work in a long time." Oh yeah, and he also had this to say back in February.
And who knows what's going to happen with my career going forward. God obviously knows, but who knows what will happen.
Would you retire an Eagle?
I mean, yeah, eventually I'll, of course, retire an Eagle. It's just whether we're going to play again for the Eagles, but who knows?
I'm sorry, but personally, it's just too easy to see this happening. Plus, the tight end joked about being 11 catches shy of the Eagles' all-time record behind Harold Carmichael, so, you know, just in case he needs a selfish stat-padding motivator, there you go. However, like I mentioned a second ago, I don't think any of us are expecting the Ertz of old, and he'd really be more of a safety valve for Jalen. Now, the potential negative is that it might lead to less 21 personnel, which is the 2 running backs, by the way, which worked really well recently, but surely Brian Johnson can't possibly screw this one up.
You maniac! You blew it up!
Alright, I'm with you. I understand the concern. But I'll go ahead and ask the question, even though I'm pretty sure I know the answer based off the Bleeding Green Nation poll. Are you in or out on Ertz? And what are your expectations if the Birds brought him back? By the way, make sure to subscribe and turn the notifications on, since we'll be the first to go live as soon as any Ertz signing is made official. Now, honestly, what I hope happens is the Eagles get Zach, and then that'll provide an example for Shaq Leonard to follow, since, you know, he said he wants to play for a contender. I mean, credit to Dallas for the win over the Seahawks, but the refs won that game for you, just saying. Oh wait, I can't say that after the bevy of penalties literally march you down the field on multiple drives? But in every Eagles win, Dallas fans chirp how lucky we are.
Hypocrisy knows no bounds.
Whatever, I'm just looking forward to beating them next week, and just FYI, I'll be at the game in Dallas in case anyone's going or tailgating. Although Micah Parsons made sure to call out Philly, saying right after the win over Seattle that the Eagles have to come play us now. I'm excited about every game, but I feel like it's us against the world, so let's do it. And alright, we'll get there, but let's make sure and take care of business versus San Francisco first, which I've said this before, but it's going to be a tough matchup because the 49ers have one of the best offenses in the NFL, if you buy that, with Brock Purdy owning the highest passer rating in NFL history, highest completion percentage in NFL history, and the highest touchdown percentage in the last 50 years. And sure, maybe that's a little fluky or just based on how the scheme works, but the Philly corners are taking notice, like Bradley Roby, who said, Purdy has things you can't measure. You can't measure heart, you can't measure composure, you can't measure pocket escapability, you can't measure anticipation, and you can't measure being a leader. All that stuff you can't measure. Okay, I'm with you if that's a little bit too much praise, but Roby wasn't the only one, with Kevin Byard admitting it'll be a challenge to get him off his rhythm.
But I would definitely say that 49ers is one of the best teams in the NFL. That's clear. What they can do on offense, how their defense plays as well. It's going to be, at least up until this point since I've been here, it's probably be our biggest test. Obviously, I know the history behind, the NFC Championship game last year and stuff like that. But it'll be a bloodbath for sure. Expect a very physical matchup where obviously we want to run the ball, they want to run the ball. So whoever team is going to be the most physical and eliminate those big explosive plays is going to be the team that win the game.
Okay, I'm fine giving credit where credit's due, and I do think this will be the toughest test for us all year. And obviously, the Niners know how important it is to not let our pass rush get going, which is why I think their main focus will be running the football to keep the rush off balance. The good news to that is the fact that the run D for Philly has been the strong suit. So hopefully that forces Purdy to have to throw a ton, which we've seen can really create problems and force turnovers. Especially when looking at the weather, that it appears like it'll be another rainy one, although perhaps a little bit lighter than the forecast was against Buffalo. However, ultimately, and kind of a no-brainer, but I think it starts with limiting Christian McCaffrey, and that's definitely the focal point of Desai's game plan.
I think you just got to get bodies around him. You got to get different looks, try to impact his route progression from different angles, and put different matchups on him because they do a great job of creating their matchups there. And so we got to be able to have multiple different ways and different angles at which we want to cover him and leverage him.
Okay, hopefully that game plan works, but curious who you guys think should key off of CMC. Look, I love how Nicholas Morrow has surpassed expectations, and maybe you could say Ben Van Sumeren is an option, considering his impressive athleticism, especially for the linebacker position, but I wouldn't totally be opposed to putting Reed, Milkcheck, Blankenship on CMC, or at least in more obvious passing situations. I don't know, whoever it is, hopefully they can slow him down, because if it forces Purdy into more dropbacks, then Haason Reddick should be able to feast. Since, like Dave Zangaro pointed out, Weiner's right tackle Colton McKivitz is a former 5th-round pick who is in his first season as a full-time starter, and he's certainly a weak link, giving up a team-high 5 sacks, 3 quarterback hits, and 27 total pressures according to Pro Football Focus. So if there's a weak spot on the line, that's it, and Reddick could have a big performance Sunday. Plus, I'd say Haas is more than ready for the matchup.
It's time for them to come back in the link again. They get the lineup against us again. See if they could back up everything that they was talking about. I expect it to be a good competitive game and a great one for the fans to watch. This is football. It's your team versus my team, me versus you when we line up, so they got to come out here. They got to bring it. They got to come back it up. Everybody know how hard it is to play in the link. We'll be ready to go. They just got to make sure they're ready to go.
All right, that's it. I'm going to call Reddick to have 2 sacks against Purdy, but what do y'all think? Heck, let's make it another giveaway. If the Eagles win and you can guess the correct total of sacks that Haason Reddick gets on Sunday, then I'll send you a Reddick jersey of your choice. So go ahead and enter your prediction in the comments, and as always, if there's ties, we'll do a drawing to determine the winner. By the way, the drawing will be on Wednesday during our next live show for those wondering when we decide the winners. But speaking of predictions, it's time for the Week 13 picks, and after going 1-1-1 last week, let's get a sweep this week. So go ahead and give me the Rams at home -3.5 versus Cleveland, and then I'll also go with the under 42.5 total in the Kansas City and Green Bay game. Finally, I'm taking the 3 points with the Birds at home. Come on, versus San Fran, let's go. But let me know what you guys think about the picks. A reminder that you can get in on the action too when you sign up with BetMGM, where your first entry, when you use my link in the description, is guaranteed to win, or you'll get up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Okay, so let's take a look at the updated injury report from the Birds, where it's not too many surprises. Although with Fletcher Cox out, we're going to get a much heavier dose of Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. Fortunately, the good news is that Milton Williams was a full participant, and we're definitely going to need it because it's going to be all hands on deck in this one. Now, the only potential bigger blow to depth, like Zach Ertz pointed out, is Justin Evans, saying at this point, I wouldn't count on Justin Evans returning this season since Evans' 21-day practice window closes next week, and he's still not even practicing at the moment, meaning possibly you look at a practice squad elevation or cross-training other individuals for depth, but certainly something to continue to monitor. All right, glad to be back after the hiatus, and most of you guys know this already, but we'll be live streaming the game Sunday along with play-by-play, reactions, and just a crazy good time hanging out during the game. So feel free to stop by and let's run this thing up to 11-1. This has been the Philly Special.